Welcome back to my page. Today I will be using shuttle art markers. They're fluid ink markers to create my original character Rue. Now you see Labubu is right there, and if you want to see the creation of Labubu and have me explain a little bit more about who Labubu is, please go to my previous video. This is a part 2. And you saw all the things I had to say about Labubu and why I loved her so much and why I felt like she reminded me of me. But I want to show you another aspect of me, and that is my original character. As I said before, her name is Rue. Now, creating an original character is always such a weird thing because you're literally bringing to life something that exists in your head, and then you're showing it to the world, your precious little baby, and you're hoping they don't chew it up and spit it out. Now, I created Rue back in 2012. She was never meant to be a actual character. She was actually just a character in the background used as filler. She was in the background of a voodoo queen painting, a painting that I did for a Halloween art show back when I was still living in Atlanta. Side note, that painting sold within an hour. It was an 11 by 14 and it sold for $200 within an hour. I was in absolute shock by the time I got to the gallery, and I was like, where is my painting? Already sold right before I even arrived. But Rue was in the background in that painting, and at that time she didn't have a name because, like I said, she was never meant to be an actual character. She was literally just filler, nameless, and quiet. But she kept showing up in my artwork over and over again, especially whenever I drew that voodoo queen. She was always there in the background, and eventually she found her way to making it into other paintings. She became like the Where's Waldo of my artistic career. Like, you would always find her hidden somewhere in a painting, just overlooking all the action, all the adventure, never participating, just hidden somewhere in the background, just overlooking everything. Eventually, she was given a name because she was arriving so much. And she also had a brother-like character who was also given a name because he started showing up everywhere. And that is Crazy Cajun. He's not in this video, but just know that Cajun is another popular character in my world. Now, like Labubu, Rue is based off of mythology and a little bit of religion and just New Orleans culture as a whole. She is technically a voodoo doll, which is why she was accompanied by a voodoo queen. Now, I say technically because Rue does not like being referred to as a voodoo doll. And we all know we have to respect people's preferences for what they want to be called. Rue refers to herself as a rag doll. And even though those of us with eyeballs can see that she has stitches, can see that she has little needles in her, the quintessential things that one would look at a doll and be like, I wonder if that's a voodoo doll. She refers to herself as a rag doll. Why? Because every time she introduces herself to somebody, they get scared because they don't fully understand what her background is and where she comes from. So in order to make friends, in order to blend in, she will sometimes refer to herself as a ragdoll, but we know what she is. She can't hide her magic. Just think of that little name she gave herself as Clark Kent's glasses, but we really know that he was born Superman. And to be honest, I called her a ragdoll in the beginning because I was afraid to say what she was as an artist. Because whenever I show this character to people or anybody that is associated with the dolls, they always kind of rear back, like physically rear back from me and like point their fingers and go, witch. And now I'm sitting there trying to explain my art, trying to explain what it means to live in New Orleans, trying to explain hoodoo and voodoo culture and how we've been brainwashed, and it becomes a whole thing. So yeah, she is called a rag doll. Now, Rue herself has even been featured in many comics that I did years ago, which I'm debating on bringing back. But it was called The Melancholy Memoirs of a Rag Doll Named Rue. Because Rue is always getting into something. She's always getting into things, try as she might, to blend in and to live her life peace and drama free. Rue is always getting pulled into things, whether it's by her brother Cajun, or she's being tripped into some type of scheme by her quote unquote older sister, Cayenne. Or it's just something that she has found herself in. Trouble seems to follow our little friend, hence why it was called the Melancholy Memoirs. There was even this time where she got really sick from drinking too much pumpkin spice, only to find out that that was actually the whole point, because the evil pumpkin man was trying to take over Louisiana one spirit at a time by infecting everybody with pumpkin spice. But that's a story for another day. And Rue has an entire tribe of family and friends. You've heard me mention Cajun and Cayenne, but she also has Andouille, the Spicage boy. There's Bourbon. All of the dolls are named after Cajun or Creole cuisine. There's also Trix and Jinx, who are the illegitimate children of Bacchus. They are the spirits of Mardi Gras. They're always known for causing havoc during that time, and Rue always seems to end up in the middle of said havoc. There are the Black Masking Indians, based on the Mardi Gras Indians, is what they're commonly known for in New Orleans. There's also the New Orleans Baby Dolls and the North Side Skull and Bone game that hosts one of my absolute favorite characters. And of course, there are Lao, the deities or gods or saints of voodoo, because I'm not shying away from all the different aspects of what make Louisiana, in particular Louisiana itself, New Orleans, special, that special haunted place. So this world almost pulls inspiration from Hayao Miyazaki and Spirited Away, also My Neighbor Totoro. So now you know a little bit of the background of who she is. And I'll just put a pause in this for a second. So you see, I painted all of this in acrylic marker. There's no alcohol markers in using this. I'm using shuttle art markers and Artix markers. Now I use mainly Artix skin tone markers for the labubu that's dragging Rue along. And I, of course, put Rue in a labubu costume. But you will see me going back and forth between the Artix markers and the shuttle art markers. They're both really, really good markers. They're very, very opaque. It's just harder to get like a good solid base when you're using light colors, just like the color that you see that's of her fur. And you saw me flipping back and forth to look at the previous drawing I did. I try to keep her as consistent as possible, but I'm going to work on giving myself more permission to just being free. She doesn't have to be perfect every time. You know it's Rue. You know it's her. So I'm gonna try to work on being a lot more free, because that's one thing that I like about Kai-Sing Lung's artwork. That's the creator of Labubu. When they show his drawings, Labubu doesn't look the same every single time. She's very, very loose, and it's all about getting that mischief look to her, but she doesn't look the exact same every single time. So why do I have them together? Obviously, they're just two girls who are probably misunderstood by the world, and they would absolutely be besties. And Labubu will be dragging Rue around everywhere. And one of the things that I loved about doing this spread, doing both characters, is because I'm so used to doing characters that are just heavily detailed. I draw women a lot of times. They're heavily detailed. They're very sexy. And it gets to be like almost, at times it can feel draining, even though, you know, I'm a beast. I'm obsessed with what I do, and I always like to give the baddest of the baddies. But this was so fun. It was so free, and I just kind of got to enjoy myself. And this has become my favorite spread in my sketchbook. And you saw the work that I did at the very beginning of the video. I've done some impressive stuff in this sketchbook, but this is one of my favorite pieces. And I think it comes back from what I said earlier about, or what I said in the Labubu video, about letting myself be childlike and having a playground. And these characters remind me that it's okay for me to play, even though they probably have very, very heavy backgrounds and a lot of lore behind them. They are just so fun and free to draw. By the way, look at that outline, the way that I'm outlining that. I believe that's also a shuttle art marker. It's such a juicy black. I was debating on whether or not to use like a grabby fine tip one for more control, but the problem is with grabby fine tips is if you're not careful, they will spackle. They will spackle ink everywhere. So I decided to go along with a brush tip, and something about that thick black line brings the characters to life. And the funny thing is, I said that I absolutely love this piece. I literally just saw another tweet of somebody saying they don't understand why Labubu is so popular. It's such an ugly toy. It's just going the way of the Beanie Babies, or it's gonna be just like Funko. And I was like, do y'all even look the things up before y'all make these comments online? Because there was an artist who put a lot of time and effort and care into creating this character, which is one of the reasons why it's so widely popular. I meant to say popular. And I can only hope that one day my characters will be as beloved, that I'll see people running around with a labubu keychain on them because something about her speaks to them. Because she certainly speaks to me, and being able to finally put her in the forefront after having her on the back burner for so many years is so healing to me. And I'm currently working on an entire art collection that she will be featured in, along with a lot of the other characters I mentioned earlier. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of fear that I'm overcoming when it comes to that. Because how do you get people to get it? How do you get people to care about these characters that are bouncing around in your head? And you know, as an artist, we create things. We want people to like them. We want people to buy them. We want people to resonate with them. And it can be scary if you're creating something brand new that it doesn't have its own fan base already, you know, especially if you're on social media. When you're on social media, it is so much easier to get recognition when you are creating something that people have some nostalgia over. But now I'm asking people to follow along a story of something new yet familiar, because a lot of people are familiar with New Orleans, but completely new, a new story. And not only does it take a level of bravery to show the artwork itself, it takes a lot of bravery to show the artwork because of how controversial it can be, which, mind you, it takes a lot of research to create this little world that I'm doing. And then I go back and forth. Do I actually need to build a world? Do I need backstories to the certain characters? Am I taking myself way too serious? Why can't I just draw them and move on? I don't know. But some reason when this character came to life, her backstory did too. All the other characters' backstories came to life. I don't know if that means I'm supposed to do a comic or a story or whatever, but I didn't manufacture any of this. They came knocking on the door of my mind with their backstories in tow. It's like, hey, you're gonna tell our story. And I'm like, you got the wrong girl. I do fashion illustration. They're like, nope, you're gonna tell our story. And I just need to know, are there any creatives who know what I'm talking about, who have had this happen to them? Because I feel absolutely insane at times. Because who is this character? She's not cute. She's not safe. She's not Hello Kitty. She has needles. She has stitches. One of her eyes is bigger than the other, but she's my little creation. She's not perfect. She's not safe, and that's okay. Labubu isn't perfect and safe either. Labubu is, like I said before, many people say that she's ugly. Reminds me of me. Even though I'm misunderstood, I'm still magic. Even though I'm awkward and confused half the time, and maybe not well equipped to be an adult, I'm still magic. And guess what? So are you. So if you want to hear more about this world and see how this character develops, please give me a like, a follow, a subscribe, and also please sign up for my mailing list, because you're going to get all the true behind the scenes of what is going on in Rouex. I've got a lot of things that I have planned, and I would love to get your feedback on them. And I would also like for you to comment on this video. And look at the way that it turned out. I, at the very last minute, decided that I wanted to embrace my inner child and color the background as if I were still like in elementary school. That's why I said I'm gonna do the grass, the light blue background, that half circle sun in the corner that we used to always do, and then the rainbow. And it just looks like it fits. It's a fun, magical world. And of course, all of this is possible because I'm using acrylic markers, which you can layer on top of each other to kingdom come. If you haven't picked up any acrylic markers by now, if I haven't convinced you over the last few videos, I don't know what else to tell you, but my recommendations are Artix markers, shuttle art markers, just art markers. Even you can grab the Sharpie creative ones if you just want a more familiar brand to start off with. Like I said, I highly recommend Artix. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm so happy with the way this came out. My inner child is so pleased, and I hope yours is too. See you next time for the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.